So this is what the AI bubble looks like. And let me show you the wheelie investor, right? I bought 10,000 shares of AMD, talking about the chip stock, AMD, looking for a quick 5% profit to fund my life for the rest of the year. Pray for me. All right, so that was the plan, 10,000 shares. There's the order, 10,000 shares, market price 232, okay? Estimated cost about $2.3 million. So that's a pretty big bet. Pray for the wheelie investor. And if you're watching the markets, you probably already know what happened today. Tech stocks just went down like crazy. And AMD in particular was pretty ugly. Here in this one, it says now it's trading at 208. It's about 13% down. The wheelie investor then says, guys, I messed up really bad. So imagine putting in $2.3 million. You're down 13% in one day. And then by the end of the day, poor wheelie, AMD falls 17%, post worst day since 2017. I know it's mean to laugh at wheelie, but this is the nature of the market, guys. If you get overexcited and you think that things only go up forever, you can get burned really, really badly. He thought he was going to make that quick 5% to fund the rest of his year, but now he's down big. Then the CEO of AMD has to go out on TV and she's saying, AI is accelerating at a pace that I would not have imagined. That's literally the quote here. This is what's going on, though, is if you saw the Wall Street Journal, stock market today, NASDAQ declines, AMD sinks after earnings. We just talked about this yesterday, and this basically software scare, one person was calling it the SaaS apocalypse, is in accelerating. I mean, you see it here. And then they have to go out on TV and tell you that everything's fine.
Coming back to the rate of change, we've been talking, you probably listened at the top of the show and certainly after yesterday and many days lately about software companies very much concerned perhaps amongst investors about their future business given the tools that we're seeing happen almost every day. How do you view it as somebody who's been in this ecosystem for so many years, Lisa? Should investors be concerned about software companies' ability to compete when Claude or OpenAI can come up with a new tool tomorrow?
I think the real key is what we're seeing with all of these tools, and we're working very closely with the model builders, is that we have to integrate what the AI tools are capable of with our basic development capability. And that's true for hardware guys, that's true for software guys. We have to take the power of the tools and actually make our products better, get them to market faster, really accelerate the rate and pace of innovation. And that's exactly what we're doing. I think the disruption comes from those who are able to take and harness the power of AI, and the closer that we work between sort of the largest foundational model guys and sort of the innovation that we're trying to drive at the engineering level, I think the better the overall product outcome is going to be. And the benefit of that is frankly the entire ecosystem, because we're going to accelerate the rate and pace of innovation.
We're accelerating the race and pace of innovation, and this is essentially what you're going to be seeing as the bubble pops. People have to go on TV and tell you, guys, everything's fine. We're harnessing the power of AI. Everything's great. But really what's happening, though, is people are looking out and like, okay, there's all this money in AI. Who are actually going to be the real winners of it? Sure, in a bubble, a lot of things can go up, but it's not sustainable. We talk about so many times on the channel. This is then what they're saying in the markets. I'll read some quotes here from the Wisdom Investment Group. They say, quote, "The concept that AI will cannibalize the most tech-savvy firms first is an interesting new narrative in the AI story arc. Until the market either rejects the narrative or modifies its existential consequences, it will be difficult for the tech to resume its bullish trend." So instead of like everyone's going to be a winner in this massive AI bubble, maybe some companies win, maybe a lot more will lose. And also, we're not even talking about the job situation, which I think is going to have a massive ripple effects on the economy. And then also, let's say the AI doesn't work at all, which I tell times on the channel. And then we invested all this money, buy all these chips, and it turns out like we don't need them, and like we just wasted a bunch of cash. AMD, though, essentially what people are concerned about is that the forecasting is maybe not as rosy as they would like to see. They markets want to hear it's infinite growth forever, but there's going to be a limit of how many things that these things you need. Here's another quote here. It's from Deutsche Bank. They say, recent months have seen a clear shift in markets from AI euphoria, right? Bubble, everyone's excited, tulips, towards more differentiation between companies and growing concern about its disruption to existing business models. Like, so who's going to win, who's going to lose? And what about some companies that are saying, as we talked about yesterday, if you sell software, if you invest in software, if like that's your thing, will there be a lot of companies that can just easily copy your code or otherwise? And there could be all sorts of nefarious stuff going on with that. I think there's some real concerns that people are having. That's why you're seeing this crazy stuff. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't think that far ahead, that how it could really hurt a lot of businesses. So for example, this is in the Wall Street Journal. AI threatens a Wall Street cash cow, financial and legal data, right? So the news before was I think it was the Claudebot thing. They're like, yo, we can, do legal briefs, or we can do quick legal research. Now we're talking about, well, what if financial data can be all done through, this kind of AI stuff? And if you don't know, Google actually, I think the word is API. They have really good APIs to getting like market pricing, these kind of things. And there's actually a lot of money if you want to get like up-to-date, real-time, market data. But what's going to be the model going forward if that kind of availability data, like pricing data of things, is going to change with the way that companies can quickly process that and display that, be it AI or otherwise. Listen to then Jensen Wong. He's at Cisco, talking about his opinion of why the software stocks are all selling off in the scare and AI bubble. Let's listen.
Give us your top of mind on physical AI.
Remember what software is. Software is a tool. There's this notion that the the software industry is in decline and will be replaced by AI. You could tell because there's a whole bunch of software companies whose stock prices are under a lot of pressure, because somehow AI is going to replace them. It is the most illogical thing in the world, and time will prove itself. Let's give ourselves the ultimate thought experiment. Suppose we are the ultimate AI, artificial general robotics, the ultimate AI, the physical version of us. You could, of course, solve any problem because you're humanoid. You could do things. If you were a human or robot, would you use a screwdriver or invent a new screwdriver? I would just use one. Would you use a hammer or invent a new hammer? Would you use a chainsaw or invent a new chainsaw? Just don't. First of all, ideally they don't use it at all. But do you understand?
Okay, so what we're getting at here is like, how disruptive will this technology be? And then he's going on about human robots, right? And the idea is, say, with software or robots or whatever things, is that, I guess, are we going to use this AI stuff to replace people who will then use the tools that we already use? So for example, we talk about in another video where, let's say I have an AI agent and I talk to my AI agent and I say, AI agent, search for cat videos for me. Show me the best cat videos of today. And like, it does that, right? So it just replaced me, where me personally, I could have just typed in search cat videos or whatever. And will the AI be more faster, more efficient, that kind of stuff? Are we going to keep our same processes and same tools, but just have AI do it instead? In his example, he uses, like, say, for example, if I, personally use a hammer and I hammer down a nail, will I invent a new hammer, or just have the AI use the same hammer that I use and do it for me? It's an interesting concept that he's talking about. I think more things will change dramatically, but I understand from his point of view, he's trying to sell you, things, obviously, and not trying to scare one, and then he'll play off the software crash as not being a big deal. But all these things are related, and this is harder to how these people talk. When you look at, though, because they don't want you to think that people are going to stop buying stuff. And in fact, some people are. So for example, Facebook, Meta, they said they're going to double their AI spending, give us more chips. We got to build more data centers. Everyone wants this stuff, I guess. And then you've got Google, and they're saying here, Alphabet to blow past investor expectations on AI spending. So Google's going to spend more too. The Google parent said it will spend $175 billion to $185 billion, and that's even more than the 119 that people were expecting. So they're still dumping money in this stuff, and they're kind of forced to, because the idea is that, before, when you need an answer on something like what's the best cookie recipe, what's the best way to fix your car, you would go to Google, right? That would be the place. But now a lot of people will say go to the chatbots, and like how many prefer that format of answer opposed to Google, where you get like a list of articles. You guys know how Google works. And so then Google then has to spend money to try to do, both models effectively. So you have Gemini over there, and then if you go to Google, they have like different tabs, and then you have like your regular search engine. They say they have to spend all this money for funding new infrastructure like data centers and such, research and talent. And there's definitely a consolidation on the talent stuff, where like if a new startup company folds or runs out of money, then Google, because they have a massive business, they start to eat up a lot of talent, and then you get this big problem, in my opinion, of all the powers that's getting concentrated to these major tech companies. And like Google said, they announced some sort of deal with Siri on Apple iPhone. Yeah, it says Gemini will also be the provider of AI for Siri on Apple's iPhone. So, I'm not against Google. I mean, I'm on YouTube right now, as you guys know, but obviously there are concerns if there's just like one company that just controls everything. And this is what, you're seeing the market is who's going to end up being the big winners. This was from the Wall Street Journal. This is a really interesting one. The idea, and it's hard to get data exactly on this stuff. So this is one way to do it. I think what it was is there's this thing called Perplexity Pro or Perplexity Enterprise, and then you can choose like which default engine you want to use. So the top one at the moment, at least according to this is as of December, you have Gemini 3 Pro, then you got Claude Sonnet, GPT 5.1, Claude Sonnet, Claude Opus, GPT, Claude GPT, and Claude Haiku. So there's like a bunch of different models for this stuff, but only like a couple players in the game at the moment. And this is sort of where we're going, and who's gonna be the last one standing. This is called Genie 3, and I noticed there's a lot of like people posting these kind of videos of like, hey, look at this, I can make my own video game, and it was kind of similar looking stuff. You'll see what I mean by like the physics engine and the world engine is kind of similar, but we're making like, I guess, tire games, and there's real concerns. So the software stocks were going down in the video game sector, wondering like how this will disrupt the market. This is another one. Just give you guys a sample like what these things look like. And if you're in the game industry or software industry, I'd like to hear your thoughts about how these things work. What do you think these things are going to do to the software? Certainly there's going to be some changes. We just talked about yesterday in the video where my wife was like, someone who works at advertising, her friend, maybe they're still there in the graphic and design section, but maybe they, fire or lay off, 2/3 of the people. And then there's just like 1/3 left or something like that. Because, are there going to be, and I'm just showing you guys, this is, I guess, all Genie 3 stuff that people are making. Whether or not these end up being full-blown games, that's another discussion. And then you have to put this in context of a lot of the stuff is based on debt, right? So, for example, this is Oracle again. Banks seek out new buyers for Oracle data center loan, okay? So we got to catch up. We got to keep borrowing money to build this stuff. And I guess it's hard to find buyers these days. It says banks are tapping investors such as insurance companies and private credit funds as they try to find buyers for tens of billions of dollars of loans tied to Oracle's vast data center projects. At least 56 billion worth of data center constructions. And here's a quote here. We basically tapped every single project finance bank possible, but there are only so many banks. Great. Banks will have to offload that risk if they want to keep lending. So, I mean, we're in a massive bubble. I think you can all see it. I talk to you guys about this every day. And we're really seeing it pop. Bitcoin is down. It says Bitcoin bleeds for second straight day, nearly grazes 72,000. And then you also have worries about, are we going to war with Iran? What's Trump doing with that? Oil prices jump after Trump says Iran's supreme leader should be very worried. Great. So I guess we want to go war there. That's what we're doing. And then that'll raise the cost of oil for all of us. And that's what's going on. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think about what Lisa Su said? What do you think about Jensen Wong said? What do you think about the role of AI in this bubble? Is it going to be as disruptive as people are worried about, or is it not? Or is, as say Jensen says, it's going to be a way to, I guess, replace us, but keep the existing hammers and tools in place? That's the question. So do appreciate your time. Please share your thoughts on this one, and I'll catch you all in the next video.